Thank you for joining my second video as we dive deeper into the biblical Americas. I'm going to do what I can to shorten these and make these videos a bit more focused on specific topics now that I did a first long video. I know people are very busy, so I just want to give kind of snippets as I move forward here. In my first video, I had shared this, and I'm going to share some other slides that are in my first video just for context for those that didn't see it. But I do highly suggest you go and see the first video. This particular image that you're looking at comes from a PBS special, the Lost Gardens of Babylon. It's part of the Secrets of the Dead series of PBS. And through different research and just interest in a particular TV show, Curse of Oak Island, I started diving deeper into some research. I just got interested and into Eastern Canada and certain evidence that was showing that led to my belief that there was something bigger here. At first, I thought it was just Knights Templar coming to the Americas much earlier than anybody had ever known or talked about, and we'll get into some of that in just a little bit before we go into our main topic today, which is a deeper dive into Golgotha, which is the Calvary, Skull Hill, which is the location of the crucifixion of Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach. And but when I saw this particular Secrets of the Dead, it really this particular map that popped up, it just jumped out to me, and I couldn't believe it because I had been searching this whole area, and I had come to the belief that Nova Scotia and Quebec are such keys for our past biblical history, Babylon, Jerusalem, and some other the Syrians, Acadians. It goes deep, and there's so much here. But anyway, as you can see, there's quite the resemblance to Nova Scotia. My knowledge and what I've learned is that there was at one time even deeper lakes and water structures that were in this area long ago. Now, interestingly, in the Bible, it talks about Babylon being surrounded by many waters. And you go to modern Iraq today, and that's just not the case. I mean, it's a dry desert. But what does resemble and matches with the biblical Babylon in terms of having many waters is this area of Canada. I mean, there's giant lakes and riverbeds and massive, the Great Lakes. You got seas. It makes much more sense when you start really diving into some of the biblical scripture than some of the desert oases that they say, modern day Israel and modern day Babylon is located. But we'll get into more of that here. Let's move forward. So during the Curse of Oak Island, the TV show, they had a particular researcher on who talked about this family, La Rochefoucauld, who this family, a French family that has deep history connected to the Knights Templar, and, they had this particular map that they showed, and this particular map, obviously this is with English translation to some of the locations and stuff, but this is supposed to be from 12th or 13th century, obviously much earlier than Columbus coming to this area. And you can see the perfect image of Oak Island area. I mean, even up in this area, and this really got me very interested, and I started doing a deeper dive into La Rochefoucauld family, including finding their family crest. And I cover some of this in my first video, but I wanted to go a little deeper into this just to show evidence of where I'm going here. But as you can see, this is from the 1500s, mid 1500s. I mistakenly said early 1500s in my first video. It's like 1550, but it's the family crest of La Rochefoucauld. And from my deep dive and research, I'm very certain this bottom part here is actually representative from a certain angle of Oak Island. But this whole thing is a map of the Oak Island area, and gives also a clue to the location. As you can see, I mean, the, right here on this woman with a crown, you have the entire United States. I mean, from 1550, this is pretty impressive that they have the entire United States image on this. And you can tell this. I mean, look at the face. The face is just—it's not like supposed to be pretty or a well representation of anybody. It's the reason for that is because it's a map. It's a hidden map, and the map is actually hidden for Oak Island area. And I show that in my first video. But you see the C structure here. The C structure you see in quite a few uh, French and noble artists' paintings and illustrations from, especially from like the 1400s on. Um, but this particular one, as you can see, there's a structure here right by the Oak Island. Oak Island's right here, over here. But you can see, just real quick, I go deeper into this. How this is a map of the Oak Island area. But it really kind of set me off. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And this the Rothschild family has deep ties to the Knights Templar. What were they doing coming here bearing treasure? It goes much deeper, which I didn't ever think that was the case. But let's move on here. So before I move on to something, I couldn't believe this. This is something that was brought to my attention through somebody else that I was another researcher who I was chatting with on a social media platform, who brought to my attention after I'd shared some of my research. Um, and this was really interesting because this is Babylon, New York, right? This is it's upside down. This is north over here. This is south. But look at this. It looks like a finger. Like, I mean, you get real close and well, it looks like some fingers and a thumb and like a pointed finger. You can see in the next slide here that this is just like a structure that was added on. I mean, that's not natural whatsoever. I mean, it's like they purposely did it, and we know that they hide things in plain sight. When you look into like the Illuminati, and you dive deep into secret societies and stuff, that they hide certain things in plain sight, almost like throwing it in our face. Now, what could this be pointing to, though? Now, check this out. So, Babylon, New York, the pointing finger directly to Oak Island. I mean, gee, are you kidding me? That just cracked me up when I saw that. I mean, great find, by the way, to the researcher who found this, and thanks for sharing it. Because it truly is, it blows me away. I was just like, I couldn't believe it. I was just laughing when I saw that in your face. Just, pointed finger and hand, just pointing right to Oak Island with the, Babylon right there. Anyway, let's move on. This is the south. This is the north up here. South. This is the way it would normally look if you're looking at it normally. But once again, you can see it's pointing directly Babylon, pointing directly to Oak Island. I mean, what better way to show that where we're going is pretty interesting. So let's dive deeper. So in my first video, I had also shared about how the Micmac had a flag that came out in the 1900s, and a lot of people pointed that out, and they're absolutely right. But their flag for the Grand Council, the flag of the Micmac, which is a First Nation tribe that's located up in Quebec area, located throughout Nova Scotia, and I think down into Maine as well. But they're one of the First Nation tribes. There are a number of First Nation tribes, but the Micmac are one of them. They have a map that excuse me, they have a flag that very much looks like the Templar cross. And there's actually a legend, within the Micmac that there's some believe it, some don't. That Knights Templar were in the area. Now, I'm not going to say I know one way or the other, but I'm going to share something with you that I found before, between my last video and this video that I think gives some really good potential. And if anybody's going to know the truth, it's going to be this next slide here, this next person. So who is this? Now, I found this off of the Knights Templar .org. So, we're going down a path of people who should know something about the Knights Templar. Now, William F. Mann, if I'm saying it correctly, or Bill, goes by Bill. He's basically he's a part of the Knights Templar. He holds a esteemed position with the Canadian Freemasonry, which you have to be a certain level of Freemason. I think it's 31 to 32 degree, something to that nature. But you have to be a Freemason to be able to be part of the Knights Templar, Supreme Grand Master of the Sovereign Great Priory of Knights Templar of Canada. So if somebody's going to know something about Knights Templar, as it says, Bill, he wrote actually 3 books about it, which is really interesting in his belief that, in the Knights Templar were coming and exploring as early as the 12th century, to the Native American tribes and Micmac and Algonquins. But that could be just some European or some Canadian, but look at this. When you go a little deeper, he's also an initiated member of the Midwin Algonquin Ojibwa, Grand Medicine Society, a Native American secret society whose rituals have proven to be mirror images of the Knights Templar rituals. So, I mean, if anybody's going to know the truth about secret society, knowledge and information between the Knights Templar and the First Nation tribes, it's going to be this guy right here. I mean, and he wrote multiple books. This one blew me away, though. Just the description that I found. So it's called the Templar Sanctuaries in North America, Sacred Bloodlines and Secret Treasures. Now, once again, he's talking about how the Knights Templars came and they were, interacting with the native First Nation tribes. But really, this blew me away the most. Many have searched for lost treasure in Knights Templar, most famously at Oak Island. But what if the treasure wasn't lost? What if the treasure necessarily to sanctify the Temple of Solomon and create a new Jerusalem was moved through the centuries and protected by a sacred lineage of guardians, descendants of Prince Henry Sinclair, and Native American tribes who helped him? Now, a new Jerusalem. Why would they be bringing these to Canada? Just this, I guess that you can say that they were doing it just to hide it from their enemies. But you ask me, they were bringing it back to what was the original Jerusalem area. And we'll go into that in just a minute here. But that's my belief after digging deep and going in and finding certain information. I'll go into some of the things I've shared in the first video, but trying to go deeper into Golgotha, which is the main subject here. All right, so through my research, one location came up in Quebec. You can find out how. It's one good reason, one map that was based off of a painting up in the hills of Quebec that matched a painting that was in the Roman catacombs, early 100 to 200 century painting that was the exact same imagery, not just of the image of Christ in it, but also had the rock formations and everything that was up in the hill. And through some other research, I had come to learn the way that some of these were created as maps and hidden maps. And so diving deeper into it, I actually found Wemotaci and Weymont, Quebec area. And I truly believe this is one of the most sacred and holy places on earth. I think it goes back to the biblical Jerusalem and the Solomon's Temple and Solomon's Mines. And I'll go a little bit deeper into that. But this top map here is called the Madaba map. It's considered the most or the oldest map of Jerusalem in existence. It's like it's like 500 AD. And what it does is I knowing about Wemotaci, I taken this and I had found what I believe is the right angles to take a look at it. I mean, it looks exactly like it. This is right across from Weymont, Quebec area. When Wemotaci's like over here, this is like Weymont area, and or maybe it's down here anyway. But you see this, this particular, like, looks like a foot, right, and then a leg, and a foot and a foot and a leg, and then it has this like arrowish kind of structure right in here, just like this does. Then you got this, this formation comes this way and this way. You even have this coming up here and here, and it comes up just like it does. It's supposed to. This part over here. This is, you can absolutely see this right here, which is amazing. So uh, where it says Jerusalem is located is right here. So I'm here, and this is what Jerusalem should be, right? And then Bethlehem should be right here. And so let's go to what it should look like. I'm going to show you another image of a map of Jerusalem that was from like 1700s, 1600s. I can't remember exactly. I think 1700s. But so we go here, and it should look like a map of Jerusalem, which, this is the Jerusalem part of the Madapa map. And look what we find. So, I mean, this is once again, it's like a 1600, late 1600s. I can't remember exactly. Sorry, I have it in my first video, but it makes a perfect map of what we're looking at. And look, you can see these structures that were, that had to have been here. This, you got roads, and you got, these, this grass that's not forming because you had buildings on it. You even have this kind of, area over here that perfectly matches. Then you got some rolling hills up here, right? And it's very interesting because then you got all these kind of like hills and stuff. Now this looks sandy, right? It looks like it's all sand and stuff, like it's a desert. But let's show you a similar image to this map. It looks almost exactly like it, but it looks a lot different in color, and looks much more like this. And the map I'm going to show you next was 100 years earlier than this one. Okay, so look at this. This is a early Jerusalem map, which makes the same outlines, but it's 100 years earlier. And you can see the green. You can see the rolling green hills. And we'll go into a lot more of Jerusalem, and some images and paintings of long ago, from artists that actually make the area and the Holy Land look much greener than you'll ever see, with a lot more waterways and rivers and structures that just don't exist in Jerusalem. There's like a spring that comes into Jerusalem, or like an underwater river that they just recently found. But there's nothing like this. There's no green rolling hills and stuff. But as you can see, there's, many maps of Jerusalem show a lot of very green vegetation. The older maps, the older paintings. So then we go to where Bethlehem should have been on that Madapa map. And look at this. I mean, you got the perfect structure right here. You got this kind of rolls over just like this does. You got this piece right here. Okay, you got these roads and stuff that you should have. You got even this part right here, which is very. You can just see it. It's looks just like this location. Look at this right here of Bethlehem. And this is an old map of Bethlehem. There's more. I show more in my first video, but let's dive deep. I'm trying to get to Golgotha, just showing that Jerusalem is a good potential to be where I'm pointing it out to be the real original Jerusalem. Now, this is a Jerusalem map of, during the time of Jesus. I actually believe that there was three Jerusalems. One that was destroyed by the Babylonians, and I haven't covered that yet. Just a little tiny bit in my last video. I'm working on another video that will go deep into that, because that's a highly important location. Then this location, which is right across from Weymont, Quebec, and to show uh, this, what I truly believe is the Jerusalem during the time of Jesus, which was burned down and destroyed by the Romans. And even in the Bible, it says that Jesus mentions that no stone will still remain of the of the Jerusalem that was in existence at that time. And lo and behold, there isn't. I mean, you can see that there's like these up on top of here. There's actual a perfectly flat and squared uh, location here and then you also see an outline of where the original temple was located, but you see this flat kind of area that on top of this hill structure, just like you have it here, and it kind of rolls up, and there's a hill there. Then you go over here, and it should go down just like this is doing. See how it goes down? Perfectly goes down just like it should, and then you got this area right over here, right? Got this area, and anyway, there's this whole valley back here, like there should be. And I show multiple images of Jerusalem map in the first video, including some of these that show up perfectly back here, in the valley that like they should. It's pretty incredible. What I'm trying to get to though is right outside of Jerusalem during the time of Jesus was Calvary, or what was called Golgotha, the Skull Hill. Golgotha means Skull Hill. Uh, so we should be able to come uh, and find just outside of this, which we're going to, a hill that actually looks like a skull, or has a reason to be considered a skull. Let's go to the next one. So before I do that, one more thing. Once again, the kind of the green rolling hills, right? This is Jerusalem during Jesus' time, and once again, you have this. I'll show you the next one here. This, you have this perfect thing right here, up on a hill area, just like you do here. You got this hill that goes up, up in here, curves around just like this does, right? This is where the temple was up here, and once again, you got these rolling hills back here, green, luscious, and you got these roads and stuff. You got this area that's right here, right? It's all destroyed. I mean, you can tell this. It's just, this doesn't look natural. None of this looks natural. Looks like it's been, beat up pretty good over the years when you got lines that look, very much like roads and stuff. Um, but anyway, and waterways. Um, Now, during my research, I found certain artists who I believe were well connected to, this knowledge and information. Even as you get closer into, the time period where I think they started making a decision to change the location for certain reasons. You go into, I don't want to get into some of the Masonic stuff here, but three world wars and stuff like that that I think they're trying to build and plan. They have their reasons. Maybe it's just to protect ancient knowledge and rituals and relics, and on top of it, ancient gold. I mean, the location of the largest gold mines, in Canada are in Quebec, and I believe, my personal belief is the true location of Sullivan's mines are in Quebec. But look at this. This is Benjamin West, who lived in London, and I'm pretty certain in 1796 when did who had control of Canada? The British, right? They had taken over from France at that time. But look at this. And I show a few of his images, and I'll show one of his specifically for the original Jerusalem and where Solomon's temple was originally located. Yeah, I haven't shown that one yet, but he also made a painting of this. But this illustration, it's very simple. It's called the crucifixion. Now, you have this land structure right here, right? This land structure, just like this. But the important piece is this C right here, okay? Because you have it right here, this C structure. All right. Now you could probably start seeing an outline of a skull over here, but let's take a quick look. Now look at it from a higher view. I mean, look at that. That's a skull, an eye, an eye. I mean, you got the skull structure right here, right where it should be. I mean, you gotta be kidding me. Now let's go into some other paintings. This is new that I haven't shown. This blew me away. Okay, so Golgotha, a procession to Golgotha by Henry Met de Blesse. Now, I'm probably botching that name. He's Flemish. He was born during the Renaissance, Northern Renaissance. basically, I think born 1490 and lived to about 1566. I don't have an exact date on when this was created, but it's sometime in his lifetime. Now, really interesting. This is, they're basically going up to Skull Hill. And so, what I find interesting, when I thought first this looked like water, but this is actual trees. You can see these trees all over the place here. It's like greenish and these very unique looking greenish trees that you see all over the place up in Quebec area. Now the waterways are, you can see them, the water's here, and you can see a bridge here and the water going off just like we do. And you see these rolling hills back here. So keep that in mind. Okay, let's go to the next here. So um, this is Skull Hill over here. So we're gonna need to have these. We have this structure, okay, right here. It's like we should, okay. And this is once again, they'd be coming up this direction, and you have these. This kind of. There's a bridge right here, okay, and there's bridges here coming across. Then you have the waterway, which is right here, right here. It's coming across. It's coming over this way, just like this waterway does. It comes this way. Okay, and you got this land formation up here. Now let's keep moving forward. Now, another landscape of Henry met to bless. I just want to show this because this is a landscape of the offerings of Isaac. Now, as you can see, look at these trees. These look nothing like Jerusalem. I mean, if you've seen Jerusalem, it's like a desert. You don't see these trees out there. Um, not at all, not in the area. Or this looks right out of parts of Canada, parts of North America. Um, but you could say, well, that's just because that's what the person from the Netherlands, person who's Flemish, that's what they do. But it's moving forward, you'll see that it's not just him. It's many artists over the years. But take a look here. This is where the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, where the Golgotha is supposed to be. I mean, do you see anything that is remotely looking like it could have those types of trees and water structures and rivers? There's no rivers, in Jerusalem. There's a spring. There's the only river that they recently found was one that's underground. And there's rivers that are talked about in the Bible coming from Jerusalem, or there's water, coming out in rivers. And there's just nothing here. I mean, it's a desert. It doesn't make any sense, you know. So here's another. This is from Jean van Eyck. Now, Jean van Eyck was much earlier. I think you're looking like 60 to 80 years earlier. So born 1390 to July 1441, and this is the way to Calvary. Now, another artist from the same area, which is just by France, by the way. But so this is early Northern Renaissance, but basically born in what is present day Belgium, I believe it is. Yeah. Um, and really interesting. You get the same, heading up to Golgotha, and you get the same trees that are all over the place. You get these rolling hills in the background, trees everywhere, like they should be. You got the water ways, just that's water over here. I mean, you just once again, you don't see that in modern day Jerusalem anywhere, especially these trees and these rolling hills and the waterway. But let's dive a little deeper because it gets really interesting once you start comparing this image with the area that I'm saying is the real Jerusalem. So interestingly, basically here's Skull Island, here's Skull Hill over here in this area, and so it would be like an image. Sorry, like an image looking this way, right? And that's what we see. We see this waterway kind of going up and then back. So this would be Skull Hill area right here. So waterway. Now you also have these rolling hills, these grassy, green with trees, rolling hills. So do we see anything like that? What we do? This is winter time, so it looks a little darker. You got these rolling hills back here. Now let's just to prove it to you that this goes from water lower level up high, a couple hundred feet. To show you real quickly the longitude. So once again, the comparison between the images between the first artist and the second artist, you can see the same waterways and stuff, same rolling hills. But let's move forward. See, just like same thing. Got the same thing in the background. Now look at this. So if we were looking right by the water, we're looking at like 1,100. It actually goes down to like almost 1,000 feet, above sea level. But then you move forward, right? You can see, by the way, here's the location from what I'm looking at. Okay. Then once again, so we'll be looking at right around here, or down here somewhere. Now we go back. So again, let's go back. We're now going to look at what I believe is this right here. Could be this one. Okay. So now we're 1,300. So we went from 1,100 to 1,300, and it's this perfect rolling hill, just like we saw with the one in the background there. But we'll show the one in the back in just a second. So I think we're either looking at this next, or it could be this one next. It's tough to tell. So once again, goes from 11. This one goes up to 1,400 feet, and it kind of drops and goes down, just like just like we saw. It goes up, and then perfectly goes down, or it could be this one going down. But you see these tall rolling hills in the background with waterway, just like we do, right? Waterway going. Got water back here. Pretty impressive water coming this way. Now, this is another artist. This artist is Louis de Calvary. This is the Le Golgotha. So the skull hill, pretty much is what it's saying. Now, what if we had another artist from a different angle that matches the not only the green, luscious hills and stuff. And this is from 1580 to 1621, sometime in his lifetime. But another Flemish artist, and I think that's a very important because where he was located, I believe, is now part of modern day France. So yeah, it's part of modern day France where he grew up, or where his life was. And the French, as we showed you in the very first image, the French were well connected to this knowledge. And the French, who were the first Europeans that supposedly came over and had control of the area, which was the French, right? Before the English came in. So it doesn't surprise me at all that they had the access to this area and were able to come over and draw this with their knowledge that they had, that this was the original the Holy Land and original Jerusalem. But just take a look at this. So amazing. I mean, it's right here. You can look at this. Look at this. This is you got this. You got the perfect mountain range. This is Skull Hill right here, right? Skull Hill. So it'd be like right here. We're talking about the Calvary, Golgotha, the crucifixion of Christ somewhere in this area. And then you go up, and perfectly you got this mountain that looks exactly like this mountain right here. And you got this formation right here. Right? It dips, comes back up, dips, comes back up. Then it drops back into a valley, then it starts coming back up. And once again, these green, luscious, trees. I mean, 3 different artists that match this land area so perfectly. It's just mind-boggling. So now the last thing here, and I'll cut it. I know it probably went longer than I wanted, but so I was doing some research, and this will be something I'll probably cover in the future. But I thought this was pretty awesome. Now I knew about the Kincaid Cave, which was a cave that was located in the was supposedly in early 1900s, 1909, I think it was. There was a Phoenix Gazette published an article about somebody by the name of with the last name Kincaid, who had was an explorer, and it was a G.E. Kincaid going through the Grand Canyon, and who supposedly stumbled on a cave that had Egyptian artistry, Egyptian relics, and also relics of the Orient, including like a Buddha statue. But there supposedly he gave that knowledge to the Smithsonian, and now the Smithsonian is covering it up, and people don't have access to it to go in and to learn or to verify. And of course, they're calling it a hoax, like they always do. But I knew about that one, and I had been studying it, which I thought was interesting. The real interesting part is, so many of the different land formations and rock formations in the area have Egyptian names to them, like the Tower of Ra, the Horus Temple, the Osiris Temple, and Isis Temple. It just happens to be in that area. And that's what the names of those rock structures were. As he found that before he even found the cave. So, that tells me that there's some it's possibly true. In my opinion, it is true. They're just hiding this information from us. Now, when I didn't know that there was another cave that was found, and this cave is called Burroughs Cave. And Burroughs Cave was found more recently in like 1982 by Russell Burroughs, and this is in southern Illinois. Now, in southern Illinois, supposedly he found just this massive amounts of artifacts and Egyptian artifacts and artifacts going back, very deep, showing that there was possibly, Egyptian royals here, and they buried a lot of evidence in this particular cave. Um, One of the relics that I found um, doing some research was this particular rock here, and it blew me away because I had known around Michigan, like 4000 BC or 4500 BC, they've been coming. And they're shown to be uh, ancient, ancient digging mines and stuff like that for copper. We know that around Michigan area and stuff. And so as we see these kind of X marks the spot things, I'm pretty certain that these are either land places where they were living or places that they were mining. But this particular thing, let's again called a hoax. They don't, they're trying to say that it's not real, that he didn't find it. But the stuff that the relics that they show look pretty incredible. And you can do that some research on yourself. Burrows. But what truly blew me away, you can tell this is absolutely the Great Lakes and stuff. Truly blew me away is this big X here, or this big marks the spot type of thing. And where is that pointing to? Right to where I'm saying is the ancient true location of Jerusalem, of Solomon's temple, of Solomon's mines. Now, don't believe me? Well, guess what? In Quebec, there is a Mount Babel. There is the Solomon Temple Islands. There is Nazareth. There is, um, you know, uh, there's a Magog, which is a pretty incredible place, by the way. And there's this really unique mountain. There's also just right outside in like the Ontario area, you have, and I kid you not, you have an actual Garden of Eden, and you also have, uh, oh man, of course it's slipping around my mind here. But anyway, there's so many biblical names that are a part of just this area right in here. And you also have a ton of biblical names in all of these areas as well that you can dive deep into, and it gets better as you go down into Atlanta and stuff like that. I mean, it's truly absolutely amazing. I think the our history has been hidden from us, and all you really need to do is go and look at the World Fairs in like the 1800s, early 1900s, where these monolithic structures that are no way could have been created in just a couple of years, 2 to 3 years, then destroyed right after. Architecture that we can't even easily make today. It would take so many years to do. They just say just sprout it up with horses and buggies, and somehow we were able to bring all this stuff in. You ask me, there's been resets, and I think we're just diving deeper and deeper into the truth. The more we dig, the more we find the truth. But anyway, that's it for today. Thank you so much, and may the Most High bless all of you.